Hello, and thank you for joining me on the That's What She Read podcast. Today we're going to be coming from Mark chapter 8, and as usual, let's get right to it. So, just a little bit of backstory. In Mark chapters 6 and 7, Jesus had just come back from being on tour, doing signs, miracles, wonders, healing people, casting out demons, doing Jesus type things. And the disciples had been on their own tour, preaching the gospel as well, and they had met up and were about to take a little break, but a crowd formed just as they were trying to tip off, and Jesus went ahead graciously and preached to this crowd. It ended up being about 5,000 men and their families. Long story short, because that's a story for another day, Jesus ended up feeding that crowd with only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and still had leftovers after everyone ate as much as they wanted. So the disciples knew about this, so just keep that in mind. After that came the story where Jesus walked on water. So he had demonstrated a lot by this point already. So here we are in Mark chapter 8. Another crowd has formed, this time about 4,000 people. Jesus had been preaching to these people. They had been with him for about 3 days. And he felt sorry for them because they ran out of food. So he told the disciples, he's like, look, I feel sorry for these people. It's been 3 days out here with me. They about to go home. If I send them home hungry, I'm going to be real with you. They ain't going to make it. They are not going to make it. A lot of them had traveled from long distances. And Jesus he felt that he needed to feed these people. Well, meanwhile, the disciples were just like, what are we supposed to do about that? Like, where are we supposed to get this food from to feed them? We out here in the wilderness. We don't have food to feed these people. Now, mind you, what I just said in Mark chapter 6 and 7, Jesus had already shown them what he could do with nothing. He had already fed a large crowd with 5 loaves of bread. So why they're still asking what we supposed to do about this? Well, let's keep reading. So at this time, once again, there's about 4,000 men out there. And if you have shared space with any eating man or any growing boy, men can put away some food. Men can eat. They had 7 loaves of bread. Jesus said, bring me the 7 loaves. They found a few fish. Jesus said, bring me the fish. To the disciples, they like 4,000 men, 7 loaves of bread. The math still ain't mathing for them. So Jesus took the bread, he blessed it, he broke it, and he started passing it out to the disciples to pass out to the people. And how many of us know about putting together that struggle meal when you look in the refrigerator and you like, okay, I got a can of biscuits. Let me see, what could I put with these biscuits? You know what I'm saying? You putting together a struggle meal. Well, with Jesus, it wasn't a struggle. They gave him those 7 loaves of bread, and the Bible says that they handed him a few small fish, and boom, it's a fish fry. 4,000 people, fish fry, booming, banging. You know what I'm saying? And the word says that they ate as much as they wanted. Jesus didn't just give them something to put on their stomachs. You know what I'm saying? Like, eat as much as you want. This is like open bar. You know what I'm saying? This is like buffet. So they ate as much as they wanted, and they still had 7 large baskets of leftovers when it was all said and done. So Jesus dismissed the people, got in the boat, and crossed over into another region. When they got to this region, they encountered Jesus encountered a group of Pharisees, aka like these groups of strict religious people who were more interested in following laws and tradition than actually having a relationship with Jesus or a relationship with God. And so they rolled up on Jesus, confronted him, trying to start mess, trying to test who he was, demanding to see signs and wonders. And Jesus was just like, look, I'm not showing y'all no signs. I ain't showing y'all no wonders. In fact, I'm just about to get my people and leave. So, one thing about people who walk the earth at the same time as Jesus, once you start reading some of these stories, you realize that there is no shortage of audacity. Okay? Audacity has always been a thing. People had big audacity when it came to dealing with Jesus. So Jesus refused to show them any signs or wonders. He got back on the boat with the disciples to leave the region. Meanwhile, keep in mind, the disciples had forgotten to bring food. Meanwhile, you had these big, large baskets of leftovers from this miracle that Jesus had just performed, and they forgot to bring food. They had one loaf of bread. So just keep that in mind. While they were on the boat, Jesus decided to warn them about the Pharisees who had just started trying to, start some mess with him. And so he just simply told the disciples, look, be careful. Watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees. Now, it's important to note that yeast in the Bible means hypocrisy and evil influence. So he was telling them, watch out for the evil influence and the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. They be trying to start mess. You know what I'm saying? Watch out. These disciples started arguing about who forgot the bread. When Jesus said, watch out for the yeast, they thought he was talking about bread. And they started arguing about who forgot to bring bread. By this point, between the Pharisees demanding to see signs and wonders, trying him, and the disciples having little faith despite all the things they had seen, Jesus was fed up. He had pretty much had enough of this. And for this part, I'm going to read straight from the Bible, the NLT version, Jesus' response to the disciples arguing about bread. So this is Mark 8. This is Mark chapter 8, verse 17. Jesus knew what they were saying, so he said, why are you arguing about having no bread? Don't you know or understand even yet? Are your hearts too hard to take it in? You have eyes, can't you see? You have ears, can't you hear? Don't you remember anything at all? When I fed 5,000 with 5 loaves of bread, how many baskets of leftovers did you pick up afterwards? 12, they said. And when I fed the 4,000 with 7 loaves, how many large baskets of leftovers did you pick up? 7, they said. Don't you understand yet? He asked them. So I'm titling this podcast, Do You Not Understand? Jesus is saying, I have shown you on multiple occasions that I am the source. Why are you still saying, where are we going to get this bread from? Where you been getting it from? Where have you seen it come from? Why are we looking at our bills and saying, I got to find a way to get this money? Why are we looking at our circumstances and saying, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to get this money? Why are we looking to our jobs to be our source when Jesus gave you the job? At the end of the day, what I'm reading is that Jesus is the source. So why do we have little faith? Why do we question where we're going to get our needs from? Why are we questioning who's going to provide? Jesus is the provider. He takes care of our provisions. Whether you give him the credit or not, you wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for Jesus. There would be nowhere for you to work. Just as he gave you this job, he gave you jobs before. Every time you left a job, he gave you another job. If he didn't give you a job, he fed you, he clothed you, he made a way. Jesus is the source. That's what I read. But I would love to hear what you read. Study and show thyself approved. And until next time, bye.